special guest, a good friend, Justin Driscoll. Justin, how are you today?
Great. Good to be here, and thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Justin and I have known each other for a couple of years, at least 2-3 years now, since when I got here to Lake Nona. He has what I believe is an interesting story with some interesting nuggets to share with all of you. So why don't you give us a quick introduction on who you are and how did you end up doing this fun stuff you're doing now?
Yeah, no, appreciate the introduction. I mean, quick one on me. Florida raised, Orlando raised. Grew up here my entire life. Was lucky enough to go to Rollins College in Winter Park. Had the opportunity to play baseball for 5 years, and my journey started my third year when I realized the sport was. I outgrew the sport. Blessed by the opportunity to play as long as I did, but realized a lot of people were a lot better than me at baseball. That I started to take the same addiction that I had for the sport that I gave my life to into the business world. So I started working in the startup space. Specifically in the youth sports industry. I worked for a family office that was acquiring tournaments, camps, and showcases, specifically in baseball and softball. It was a very profitable strategy, cash flowing, that then they took an ancillary parallel thesis to building a technology business around that, which then was the first exposure for me into the startup world. Very unique because there was a single funder. Most businesses have many investors. But I definitely got the opportunity in a very short window to refine my skills, but also completely learn that the startup game was for me. The corporate game was too big, too slow, too confusing for what I thought the world pace should be. Fell in love with technology, and again, right place, right time. Had a very unique, serendipitous moment to join LEAD at the very early days when they partnered with Lake Nona to come to the city. And be a very early contributor to exactly what we built to today. So I've been with LEAD now 4.5 years, joined as the first U.S. employee, joining the investment team of a venture capital firm by the name of LEAD. I could get deeper into that later in the conversation. But now my day job is I'm a VC investor. I source companies, I meet founders on a daily basis. We diligence opportunities, understand the market trends, understand the business models, the exit opportunities, and most importantly, and the thing that is the fuel to my daily life is working with the founders we invest in. Vicariously get to understand the challenges that they face day to day, and do that across obviously not just one company but 30. It's quite a stimulating job for sure, but that brings me to where I am today.
All before the age of
25.
That is great. I know I was talking to somebody the other day how different. I mean, as you know, I'm 53, and when I was your age, at least where I grew up, the inspiration was to go to college, multiple degrees, work for a big company. And then just right in the sunset somehow, right? But I feel like today more and more parents and maybe even the community itself is fostering and promoting
Totally.
young people to take the path that you took, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a lot fast-paced path. Sometimes it feels maybe a little bit less secure. Corporate America,
Totally.
well, at least there was a time when corporate America felt more secure, maybe not so much these days, but
Yeah.
It is definitely something that keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think the euphemism in our generation blinds us to certain things that maybe aren't what we've experienced in our short lives, but I think it brings a different level of energy to both the corporate world, but also the entrepreneurial space. That there's just unbelievable stories like, Joe DeSena and I were speaking about this the other day, just around these crazy 18-year-olds building AI apps from their basement, dropping out of college, dropping out of high school at the very least, and scaling things with team sizes of less than 2 people. And I think this is something we've never seen before. I think it's a testament to technology, but also to your point, I think it's a component of just the culture that parents are bringing to our generation, and also the personalities that are in the Gen Z, and even looking downwards, the come up of the alphas as well. So yeah.
So walk us through the path of LEAD. When I came here 5 years ago, and then I found about LEAD maybe 4 years ago, right around the time when you started. It was a different company in a sense than it is today.
Yeah.
If you can walk us through for people who don't know, because actually a lot of people, I mean, you guys used to be in this building and now you're across the street.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first got access here, people would be like, what are you guys doing there? Because, of course, the doors are always locked, but there's windows everywhere and people are looking to see.
Peeking in.
Yeah, what's going on in there, the most secret ops. So walk us through the story of LEAD when you got involved here as part of a North America team, team of one at the time, right, which was you,
totally.
and how that has evolved to what it is today.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a phenomenal story, but I think the beauty of the message is the consistency of what we do is we attempt to support founders, and that goes back to predating me from the very early days when this company started in Berlin, Germany. So I'll start there and work my way to where we are today. I mean, 2017, the Adi Dassler International Family Office, the Benti family, came together and questioned the promotion of their grandfather's entrepreneur identity in the industry. He built an incredible brand that the world knows in Adidas, and really wanted to find a way to leave a legacy to the entrepreneur community of, what would he be doing if he was still alive today? And alongside our CEO, Christoph, they answered a very simple question with he'd want to back the next generation of entrepreneurs to build global brands the way he did at Adidas. And in 2017, the family came together with many other shareholders and stakeholder constituents and launched a first-of-kind sports tech pre-seed stage accelerator program based in Berlin. For about 3 years, operated multiple cohorts of businesses that were invested by LEAD, brought to an in-person experience, a program, a boot camp, where they got access to mentorship, operational support, commercial introductions, investor introductions, the things a typical early stage entrepreneur is striving for. And over time, that accelerator program ran into the similar challenge that the world did in the year 2020, which was COVID. And through partnership and many relationships with a group by the name of Tavistock, I had the blessed opportunity to bring what we were doing in Germany here to America in this home called Lake Nona to replicate exactly that accelerator program, not just in the world of sports, but also what the city had to offer, which was health. And we felt culturally zeitgeist motivated that these two worlds were colliding. The things that touched an athlete are now touching the mass consumer. And that brought us here into Lake Nona, and our first product, I would say, as an investment vehicle, was the accelerator program. That was the thing. We brought 6 companies into this unbelievable city every year, ranging from tennis companies to fitness companies to health tech companies that would spend time through exactly that accelerator program. But over the course of our journey at a firm, massive growth ambitions, maximizing the opportunity set that was considered the growth of 2 unbelievable industries of sports and health, we didn't want to just stop at investing at the pre-seed stage. So over the course of 2018 to now 2024, we've positioned ourselves as a global institutional family of funds, investing with multiple pools of capital from pre-seed to growth stage. So in the form factor of an accelerator, we now just define it as an investment vehicle where we commit to supporting the businesses at the pre-seed stage in the same way we did since day one and what we intended to do here in Lake Nona and still do, but have multiple pools of capital called the Lake Nona Fund, who in one of your previous podcasts, you met my colleague Thomas Rudy, who oversees the seed stage $30 million sports and health tech fund. Inside the ecosystem is also an entity called Advantage. It's a $50 million Series A stage fund, and most recently a project that is near and dear to my heart and my relationship and exposure to athletes. We launched an entity called Locker Room. It's in a kind of more of a stage agnostic but biased to growth stage investment vehicle alongside the CEO Brian Thompson and stakeholders like John Voigtman, one of our board members that lead a project that would invest in similar sports and health tech things, but allow us to get into adjacent categories that an athlete was most excited about. And those can look like he or she's interest in CPG, beverage, alcohol, spirits, media. The shirt I wear today is one of our portfolio companies, a women's sports media brand by the name of Together. And these are all exciting things, again, how we've positioned ourselves from the early days back to what the Bentees set out to do, leaving a legacy to their grandfather, to back the next generation of entrepreneurs with a pre-seed stage vehicle, to doing this now across stages. So you fast forward to now, again, now May 2025, we have 60 plus portfolio companies ranging from women's health, postpartum, to fan engagement, sports betting, self-checkout AI, sleep tech. We've really covered the trends of these two sectors, but have totally evolved how we perceive the world. And it's all rooted in the trends. We believe the trends are at the forefront of our business. And we aspire to find the founders and entrepreneurs that build in each one of those specific trends.
So let's talk about that, because that's exactly where I wanted to go. Thank you for that background. When I came here, the model was, mainly as an accelerator, right? Companies were coming through here, which I thought it was an interesting model because you invited these founders to move here to Lake Nona, right? And they will be living upstairs and working down here, having access to the mentors who I was invited to be a mentor, which was a great opportunity for me as well to work with some of those companies. And that also, although it came with great opportunities, and some of those companies have done very well, it also comes with some challenges, trying to convince a founder to move from wherever they are into Lake Nona, Orlando, right? I mean, that there are some challenges with that.
Yeah.
But you guys, learned from those, you adjusted, you pivoted. And I imagine that the profile of what you just said about you're looking for specific founders has now somewhat morphed into a different lens.
Yep.
So what exactly is that you look for when you're evaluating these new companies so that they can become part of your portfolio?
Yeah, no, fantastic question. And obviously, in today's market conditions, in the same way we aspire to see our businesses that we work with adjust to how, certain things are happening on a macro level. I mean, we looked self-critically internally and, had to reassess how our product and service was offered to the industry and recognize that some of those constraints held back the type of founder as a venture capitalist you're looking to back. That said, we still have the same level of commitment to leverage this incredibly unique city called Lake Nona, Advanced District, that has infrastructure from the USTA to the Lake Nona Performance Club and the Veterans Affair and every other corporate partner that's here, that the technologies that we back, dependent on a pre-seed stage company or growth stage company, has the opportunity to leverage this living lab as a showcase of their technology. And the beauty thing for us is those case studies that we could speak on have not slowed down any bit from their ability from a technology in the lost and found space, powering every hotel and gym here, to some of the more fitness-based technologies that are equipped inside the membership of every everyday Lake Nona citizen or outsider that comes in and uses the performance club. So I think that's a huge thing that we're still super proud of. From the profile of founder we look for, I think obviously the recruitment of the character is someone who has an earned secret in a category that they spend in. And that could look very, very different. And I think, calling back to some of the founders you even know from Source, two college students building in the sustainable textile space, to some of our more recent investments of a former chief global marketing officer of Fitbit, now building in the sleep tech category. They both have proved to us that they have an earned secret as to why we should invest in them. And the beauty of venture is the consistency isn't that the bias is to a serial entrepreneur. A solo founder, a first-time founder, has the same potential to earn a secret that allows them to justify why they build in the space. And that could mean many different things. That could be past corporate experience working in an industry, solving a pain point that they saw on the other hand and now attempt to build in the space. It could be, again, a youthful perspective and an entrepreneur seeing a lens on the consumer audience that wasn't done through corporate experience, but lived experience. And that's something that we, hold very tight to how we diligence companies. Yes, there's market size. Yes, there's business model. Yes, there's revenue. But in the end of the day, we're in a people business. We're backing people. So the founders that we look for, we hold to very high criteria. Because as you know, in the entrepreneur community, building is not easy. It is every single day you're punched in the stomach, someone telling you no, and it takes a certain level of craziness to pick up and keep going. So there's obviously certain biases that you have as a venture investor on personality that you're impressed by, or certain internal beliefs of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. But that's why we have an investment committee. That's why we have multiple team members that have the ability to filter through what it takes to build something great. And it all comes down to the person. So whether it's through an accelerator or a seed fund or a Series A fund or a growth fund, that same criteria or scoring process starts with team and then trickles to all the different other categories.
One of the things that I still find interesting, I'm going to reference a company that you and I have discussed at length, a company that I really like and I would really hope to see them succeed, a company that has what I believe is a great product, a company that has a founder who I think speaks very well. I'm not going to mention them right now, I don't want to put them on the spot, but they struggled finding the money.
Yeah.
And what do you tell the listener? Because we're asking a lot out of these founders, right? Not only you have to have all the things you mentioned, you have to have a great idea, you have to have the presence, you have to be able to have the ability to put something together and carry it to a certain stage. Oh, and by the way, you got to be eloquent, and then you got to raise the funds, and then you got to. Okay, I mean, you need, there's not that many humans that can do all that, right? And then be able to present it to the people that have the money to invest.
Totally.
And part of the job that you used to do, probably still do, correct me there, is to see, well, if you guys can raise this much, then we'll come in with this amount, right?
Yeah.
And that one company, I know you know who I'm talking about, I love their product, tried it out, I think the world needs it, but somehow they couldn't get that extra chunk of money from other sources so that you guys could come in and support it, that is the name of the game, right?
Look,
so what do you tell those guys that have these great ideas?
No, it's, we'll keep the name anonymized, but from my perspective, you talk on something that I think is highly relevant, that founders have a lot on their plate. From exactly, managing a team culture, building a product, selling a product, raising capital, different stakeholders, partners. I think, we try to understand what a founder is asked to do, and a founder is selling. They're selling a story to attract an employee to join their company, quit their corporate day job that was probably paying them 2 times the amount to jump into the story. They're selling a customer to choose their product over a potential competitor. But then they're also selling investors a percentage in their company. And I think that is something can be done many different ways. Selling something can mean your ability to intellectually speak on something. It could be conceptually sell a vision that I think the fortunate or unfortunate reality of the game in technology, startups, and entrepreneurship is you need cash. There's different destinies to take. You could raise $500K, cash flow the business, bootstrap it to exit, or you raise multitude of sequential Series A to Series E fundraising rounds. And the unfortunate truth is you do need to attract the venture capitalist or private investor dollar. And I think in that example, you're spot on. I think both of us, and grateful for you actually making the introduction for the deal, believed in the problem set, thinking that the category was highly relevant and highly scalable, believing in the product as to where it was stood today, understood that their go-to-market strategy was not bulletproof, but like well thought out to say like this is worth a bet, And while we don't want like the KPI that like raising funds means that the business will succeed, because it's not a moment to reflect that a company is successful or not. But I think it was, for us in that example, a test to the founder that it is a necessary evil to raise capital, or it's a necessary enabler. And that's something that, whether it was, hey, go raise 500K and we'll match it, I don't think it was about like feeling that the company needed necessary finances to scale the business. I think he could have done it with half the amount, but it was us testing his selling capabilities. And again, if he can't sell an investor, you question, can he sell a customer? Can he sell an employee to stay? And I think that goes a little bit deeper, but I believe that sometimes it's all timing as well,
Yeah, no, and that is the name of the game. I mean, in the corporate world, it's exactly the same game at a different scale. Yeah. You have your shareholders, and then you have big markets, and you have customers that are demanding all kinds of irrational things at times. And you have to kind of pick, what do you do? So you have to make those decisions, and you have to you're always selling, right? Always be closing, like the ABCs.
Yeah, and look, if I could jump in, like it's also just the pace in which this industry moves is, we can't wait for a founder. That the opportunity to deploy into relevant technologies is, if it's not this one, it's going to be another one. And from an attention and a resource perspective, how fast the startup world moves, you have to stay on every single opportunity. And if something takes a little bit longer to transpire, you probably have moved on to the next shiny object or the next relevant opportunity. So there is a massive test on a venture capitalist to prioritize, also, better optimize where they spend their time, which for a generalist could be very different than what we consider ourselves a specialist by sector. The opportunity to invest in women's health could have been 2 years too early or 2 years too late, in the same way a sports betting sector could be. So for us, everything with how fast the trends move, we have certain windows to optimize an opportunity, and sometimes it's purely timing that could have no representation on like a belief in a founder or not.